I want to get started by giving a shout out to the great Reverend Jesse Jackson. U.S. civil rights leader Jesse Jackson dies at the age of 84. He was an iconic, heroic figure of American politics. I'm a huge fan. Rest in power to Jesse Jackson. Let's take a look at how mainstream media is covering his legacy.
Jackson, the famed civil rights leader who marched alongside Martin Luther King Jr. and later ran for president, has died. His family has confirmed he was 84. He died peacefully on Tuesday morning, surrounded by his family, they said in a statement. Aleem Maqbool looks back at his life.
November 2008. Barack Obama and a moment of history. In the crowd, the tear-stained face of a man who'd done much to pave the way. The Reverend Jesse Jackson.
It's been a long time coming, but tonight, because of what we did on this day, change has come to America.
Born to a teenage single mother in Greenville, South Carolina, Jesse Jackson grew up in a world where black and white were legally segregated. In 1959, he won a football scholarship to university, but threw himself into the civil rights struggle that was engulfing America.
And there's a great swell of cheers to welcome Martin Luther King.
Under the leadership of Martin Luther King. Reverend King sent the young Baptist minister to Chicago to organize protests. On marches, the two men faced violent crowds opposed to the movement. Then, in Memphis, Martin Luther King was murdered in front of Jackson. The assassin was later arrested, having fled the country, but Jackson was never convinced he'd been working alone.
This man could not have stalked Dr. King.
Yeah, one of the craziest parts about this is that I think he was totally correct in his assessment that this was the work of like an organized body of people, which I think we all know who that organization might be. It's the FBI. And basically this was the reason why like everyone disparaged him in like mainstream media. They were like, oh, this is like, but Jesse was a Freemason as though, and his father, he was a Freemason though, but Jesse was a Freemason as though MLK Jr. and his dad, okay, take a perma, I think. Fantastic. I love parapolitics. My biggest fan. I love parapolitics weirdos who will literally take like, who don't even recognize that they themselves are basically operating at the behest of the State Department because they're so schizophrenic about like anything. Like it's the same motherfuckers that are like, oh, I don't know if you knew this, but Zohran Mamdani's dad, Mahmoud Mamdani, was airlifted into the United States of America by the CIA or something. It's like, brother, like, I need you to understand something, okay? I need you to understand something, especially when someone is like very clearly a fucking op, very clearly an op to the federal government. Like, how are you gonna be like, oh, MLK was a part of MLK was a part of like the secret Illuminati society that actually controls everything. Yeah, is that why they fucking killed him? You think that's the reason why they fucking killed him, dude? Like who? Who isn't an op in your mind? I love the fucking schizoid, communoid, parapolitics losers who will be like, no, actually, literally everyone. And I mean everyone, and especially those who are actually outsiders to the fucking game of politics. Who are leftists, who are socialists, who are Marxists, who sometimes even take up arms against the American government. Those are the ones who are actually the real agents of the state. At some point, you have to fucking recognize that you literally are an agent of the state, whether you recognize it or not, okay? You are behaving like a real fucking op.
Had the logistical operation, had operative alternative passports, and got out of the country with money alone.
A powerful public speaker, Jackson continued the struggle.
But I am somebody. I may be on welfare.
Wait, though. I am 10 toes down for you, but Freemasons does not automatically mean Illuminati at all. Yes, but that chatter is bringing it up with the eye emoji to imply Illuminati references, okay? What the fuck do you mean? Oh.
But I am somebody. somebody.
In the 80s, he twice ran for president, but failed to win the Democratic Party nomination. But for the first time, a black man was a serious contender.
Our time has come. We must leave racial battleground and come to economic common ground and moral higher ground. America, our time has come.
On the international stage, he campaigned for a Palestinian state.
I think you guys can kind of understand why I'm obviously fascinated with Jesse Jackson in particular. Yeah, the Rainbow Coalition was a continuation of what Fred Hampton sought to do as well. It was a continuation of MLK's legacy, a class-first politics that still does not shy away from talking about the racial element of American white supremacy, but a class-first politics nonetheless. A class-first politics that focuses on improving people's material conditions unconditionally. And no, the little F's are going to cut in and out the entire day. Just know that it's going to happen, and there's nothing we can do about it. Okay? Why is it like this?
Creating a long rift with American Jews after some unguarded and offensive remarks. He persuaded Saddam Hussein to release human shields on the eve of the Iraq War. And as South Africa emerged from apartheid, the man who spent years maintaining American pressure against
Let's get back to it. Jesse
the
Jackson.
system was there to watch.
What time is it?
From the 1960s to the election of Barack Obama, even to the Black Lives Matter movement of recent years, Jesse Jackson was a constant figure in American public life, determined to show generations of young black Americans they too could have a voice.
There's a video on his presidential run. The 88 campaign or 84 campaign.
In 1983, the Reverend Jesse Jackson, civil rights leader and former protege of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., announced his candidacy for President of the United States. Jackson galvanized black people around the country to engage in a campaign for an office that most of us had thought a black person could never win. A black man or a black woman occupying the White House? That was the race's impossible dream.
Jesse Jackson
Stud.
wasn't the first African-American to run for president. That would be Shirley Chisholm. But Jesse Jackson's run was incredibly exciting. It wasn't just we might get a black president. We might get a black president with a narrative and an agenda that actually represents what democracy could really look like in this country.
By the way, his 84 and 88 campaign, or his 84 and 88 campaign both were far more radical and far more progressive than modern day Democratic campaigns are. Okay. Like it's, I mean, this guy was the fucking real deal. Okay. The OG. It's kind of crazy to think about. And he was, of course, like disparaged endlessly. He was attacked endlessly. And the Democrats at the time did not shy away from using whatever ammunition they could.
Young people across the country leapt at the chance to work on Jesse Jackson's presidential campaign, reaching out to voters far beyond the black community.
He brought the white feminists, the white farmers, the first GLBT leaders within the Democratic Party. He said, come and take a seat at this table. I have enough room for everybody.
Surprisingly, Jackson struggled to receive endorsements from many high-profile black...
Surprisingly. No, not surprisingly, actually. As a matter of fact, very unsurprisingly, you know who else was also a prominent... Now we have the rear view mirror, so we have a very different attitude on this. But if you recall, there was another high-profile, young, black Democratic Party presidency contender who also struggled to receive endorsements from high-profile black figures in the party. His name was Barack Obama. Okay? I'm sorry. This is just how the game is played. If you don't understand it by now, make no fucking mistake. He had to literally earn that shit with the Iowa caucus. Okay? He had to earn that shit. They wanted Hillary. It's true, by the way. For those of you who don't know, this is literally what happened. Do not let any motherfucker try to do revisionist history here. Barack Obama went through a similar struggle. Barack Obama went through a similar issue with earning the endorsements of high-profile black figures in the Democratic Party as well.
Politicians. Most of the black leadership was against him running. They had their own arrangements with the Democratic Party and establishment. They didn't think it could work, but he ran, and he did very well, better than they all thought.
3.5 million people cast their votes for Jesse Jackson. Some estimated that as many as 20% of the African Americans who voted for him had never voted before. Though he fell short of winning the Democratic nomination, Jesse Jackson's 1984 president...
Bro, I swear to God, this right here was another like 2016 Bernie versus Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump moment. Okay? 1984, Jesse Jackson comes in, DNC cooks his ass, okay? Actively destroys his mobilization efforts. And basically, lo and behold, you got the proto-Trump, Ronald fucking Reagan. That's why they say don't blame me. I'm from Minnesota, by the way. Because Minnesota was the only state that fucking voted for Mondale over Reagan. Just, you know, lots of comparisons to be made here.
Presidential bid changed the political landscape forever.
Long before there was a Barack Obama, there was a Reverend Jesse Jackson, and he was lifting up little kids all across
I'll be
America.
honest, the real comparison here is not a Barack Obama. The real comparison here is a Bernie Sanders, but obviously I'm too white to be making that comparison. A lot of people are going to be like, hush now, little white baby. But the reality of the matter is a more accurate comparison would be a Bernie Sanders. If Lindsey Graham went out and did a fucking shooting, would you think that Lindsey Graham's, potential homosexuality would play a role in this? Or do you think Lindsey Graham will be doing a shooting because they're a fucking far-right figure? I don't think anybody would be like, oh, well, there you go, another gay guy doing a mass shooting. You would go, okay, that's a fucking psychopathic Republican that did a family annihilator thing, except Lindsey Graham obviously doesn't have a family. That's the point. But of course, a lot of right-wing figures that were firmly a part of this person's fucking community and advocacy work have turned around to say, oh, well, this person was trans. That's why they did it. That's why they did it. Fucking ridiculous. And centrist liberals are also playing along with this, for the record. Let's take a look at how mainstream media is covering the story.
This morning, police in Rhode Island are trying to piece together what led to these chaotic moments at a high school hockey game. Video capturing the sound of gunshots at an ice rink.
We have shots fired, multiple people down at the which arena.
Bystanders racing to safety. Police say the shooter opened fire around 2:30 Monday, killing 2 people and critically injuring 3 others.
There was one lone suspect, that this was a targeted event. It looked like it was a family dispute.
Overnight, authorities identifying the shooter as Robert Dorgan, who they say also went by Roberta Esposito. Social media posts showing Dorgan discussing getting gender reassignment surgery and recently responding to attacks on a transgender congresswoman, writing, quote, "Do not wonder why we go berserk." Police say,
yeah, the media is also hitting the angry trans panic angle pretty aggressively because it's not as interesting. It's not as interesting if you look at the actual full body of work here, right? it's dog bites man if it's another fucking neo-Nazi killing their family, right? But it's man bites dog if it's a trans neo-Nazi who shot their family. Thousands upon thousands of posts talking about 1488, talking about fucking how they're to the right of Adolf Hitler. And what makes the national news coverage interesting for the likes of ABC Today is the fact that they are trans and angry. October 6th, 2025. That's okay. Trump will have his own Rushmore. I call it Trumpmore. My libtard neighbor called Trump a communist. Yes, they vote from 2017. They tortured Trump. Time to even up. May 4th, 2025. Take that, Trump supporters. In 2024, obviously saying that sarcastically. Responding to Alex Jones in January 10th, 2025. Obviously anti-Trump, burning the country down, throwing a hissy fit. July 7th, 2025. Biden gropes every single thing he sees, but Trump's the problem, right? August 27th, 2025. Yeah, but Trump returned before Jesus. This, in my opinion, is straight up an abdication of duty and responsibility. Of course, you're going to mention that the shooter is trans, right? That's fine. That's understandable. Okay? It's a unique aspect of their background. But the very fact that you do not mention that they're a MAGA Trump supporter and a fucking neo-Nazi means that you're heavily invested in a biased framing that the right is weaponizing right now. At a time when trans people are fucking completely under attack. As a vulnerable population, they've been in the crosshairs of the Republican agenda over and over again. Anytime something happens, remember, we made sure that the weird trans folks, they can't play football anymore. They can't fucking swim anymore. As though that's somehow solving people's material issues. Yeah, they also used to be a pro-Israel. And then they became a full-blown Groyper, and probably around the second Trump administration, probably post-October 7. You don't see this shit in Israel because 14-year-old girls carry assault rifles in pizza joints. Fact. October 3rd, 2017. White Christian Israel equals chosen. September 15, 2017. So they were pro-Israel and obviously super pro-MAGA first time around. They kept being super pro-MAGA, became anti-Israel, and became a Nick Fuentes fan.
It appears the suspect died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound, adding authorities retrieved multiple firearms from the scene. They say one person tried to subdue the shooter.
A Good Samaritan stepped in and interjected in the scene, and that's probably what led to a swift end of this tragic event.
The gunfire erupted in the middle of a senior night game featuring players from several local high schools, including goalie Olin Lawrence.
At first, it was like
Olin Lawrence.
At first, it was like bop bop, and I thought it was balloons, but it just kept going, and it was actually gunshots.
As chaos erupted in the stands,
Me and my teammates ran right to the locker room. We pressed against the door and just tried to stay safe down in there.
Just over 2 months after a mass shooting at Brown University killed 2 students and injured 9. Rhode Island's Governor Dan McKee saying, "Our state is grieving again."
What are the odds of the person faked being an aside, either pretending to be trans or pretending to be a Nazi? I think the odds of both are incredibly low. I think this person was most likely, questioning their sexuality and their gender, because they kept saying post-op. So and also they are definitely a Nazi. They had a fucking SS tattoo, okay? Not just the Totenkopf tattoo, but an SS double lightning bolt underneath the Totenkopf. That person is 100% a fucking neo-Nazi. I mean, it's crazy. So they were very likely both trans and also a Nazi. And for the record, this is not unique. Ironically enough, right-wing media talks about transgender mass shooters, and so does liberal media every now and then, right? Almost every single trans shooter, both the one in Canada and the trans shooters in the United States of America, have been neo-Nazi Groyper trans shooters. The problem is most people don't look into it beyond transgender shooter. They go, oh, this person is a transgender shooter. That's it. It's actually the most common type of shooter. If you were to look at the ideological breakdown of mass shootings and school shootings, you will find that the overwhelming majority, if not damn near entirety, of mass shootings and school shootings that have taken place are conducted by even black people at times, which is unique, right? It's still a black white supremacist, a Groyper, a neo-Nazi. There was a female shooter, a school shooter. Again, unique demographic, because the overwhelming majority of school shooters and mass shooters are white men, straight white men, cisgender white men. And yet what's not unique about all of these different demographic backgrounds of shooters is the fact that they are Groyper neo-Nazis. Now let's get to U.S.-Iran talks.
Messaging from Iran is anything but subtle. Take us on and you'll face this. Missile attacks in one of the world's most strategic waterways with global oil.
You alone invented material analysis? Wait, first of all, you can't even say that that's materialist analysis in and of itself. And secondly, I mean, there is a difference between like verbatim saying the exact same thing, right? I mean, that's a verbatim repeat of what I was saying right there, which, by the way, of course, I want people to repeat those things. That's why I say them. What the fuck's wrong with everybody? I'm memeing over here. Hello? Why the fuck do you think? Why the fuck do you think I say these things on the broadcast? I say them so you motherfuckers repeat them. Hello? Do I need to spam the fucking a little bit more so you guys understand? Like, this is there's a little bit of humor here as well.
Oil supply, the target. If there was any room for doubt, Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, rammed the point home.
They keep saying the US have sent warships towards Iran. Okay, of course, a warship is a dangerous device, but more dangerous than that is a weapon that can send that warship deep under the sea.
None of this is putting off the US, amassing a huge amount of military force in the same stretch of sea a few hundred miles south of Iran. The Straits of Hormuz, through which a fifth of the world's oil supply passes, where the Iranians have been carrying out exercises and where the USS Lincoln aircraft carrier strike group is now in place. Further west, the US has deployed more warplanes and other military assets in bases in Qatar, Bahrain, the UAE, Kuwait and Jordan. US President Donald Trump is telling Iran to make a deal or else.
I would say they're bad negotiators because we could have had a deal instead of sending the B-2s in to knock out their nuclear potential. And we had to send the B-2s. I hope they're going to be...
We had to send the B-2s to knock out their nuclear potential. Bitch, the deal was about knocking out their nuclear potential anyway. Yeah, Yoav Golan has openly said, striking Iran is not just a political decision, it's an operational one, and the conditions are coming together. They want to strike Iran. Israel wants to strike Iran. Israel wants to do a decapitation strike. Israel wants Iran to turn into Libya. And America seemingly is going to go along with it.
More reasonable.
Not good.
President Trump wants a deal on Iran's alleged nuclear weapons project, its ballistic missiles program, its support of proxies across the region, and its treatment of its own people. Thousands are thought to have died in a brutal crackdown on nationwide protests last month. The Iranians are in a tight spot, threatened by more unrest and economic meltdown. So they may choose to play for time, emerging from the latest talks in Geneva, sounding positive.
A new window of opportunity has opened, under which we had the second round of the negotiations with the United States earlier today here in Geneva. We are hopeful that negotiation will lead to a sustainable and negotiated solution which can serve the interests of relevant parties and the broader region.
But the signals from Tehran look less conciliatory. There is no sign of significant progress on the major issues. Without it, President Trump is still threatening to strike Iran. And he's putting in place just the kind of firepower he will need to do so.
And by the way, I watched AOC answering questions in Munich. This was not a good look for the United States. I watched Gavin Newsom answering questions for in Munich. And this was a bad look for our country. These two people are incompetent. I never really I never heard her speak very much. They started answering questions. She had no idea what was happening. She had no idea how to answer.
President Trump slamming AOC over what she said at the Munich Security Conference after she took a series of questions on foreign policy. The far-left congresswoman now going to...
This is my favorite line of criticism from Donald Trump against anyone, especially AOC. Oh, she rambles on. She rambles on. She doesn't know what the hell she's saying. Brother, have you heard yourself? Okay? What the fuck do you mean? Like, he is the last guy in American politics that can say that about anybody, okay? That's crazy. At least like with AOC, there's a coherent vision there. With Trump, there isn't even a fucking coherent narrative, let alone a vision. Like, I know Donald Trump, or at least the people around Donald Trump, have an idea of what they want to implement as far as this global design, okay? But Donald Trump is so bad at communicating that agenda that he constantly gets ahead of himself. He constantly undermines what they're trying to do. So it's pretty funny for him to turn around and be like, AOC doesn't know what the hell is going on.
The New York Times venting about the
Yeah, and AOC obviously called the New York Times and did a phoner with Kellen Browning, New York Times politics reporter. And it was a very interesting interview as well. I saw pieces of this. After first big overseas trip, Ocasio-Cortez expresses frustrations. We'll obviously talk about that as well.
Criticism and mockery of her performance on the world stage. Take a listen to some of her gaffes.
Would and should the U.S. actually commit U.S. troops to defend Taiwan if China were to move?
You know, I think that this is such a, you know, I think that this is of course a very long-standing policy of the United States.
Maduro was, as a leader, he canceled elections. He was an anti-democratic leader. That doesn't mean that we can kidnap a head of state and engage in acts of war just because.
Bro, again, I cannot believe my eyes. I cannot believe my ears. This is Fox News. Guys, make no mistake. We are watching Fox News, a channel that champions Donald Trump. Okay? Donald Trump on his best day will literally fucking... Donald Trump on his best day is like, who's Maduro? I don't care. Like, that's right. I don't care who Maduro is. I don't know. Basically, hubba-dubba-ing his way out of every fucking conversation. He's like Brandonizing at an alarming fucking rate. Everything computer. And it's wild. Wild that these guys are like, wow, the pants shitter is awesome. And AOC here, totally unacceptable. I mean, this is classless. This is tasteless. Now, there's a lesson for AOC to learn from this, I think. Okay? And that is just be confident. Just be confident. That's it. I know it sounds stupid, but even if you're like wrong on some of the facts or whatever, your base will support you. As long as you maintain a confident posture. That's pretty much what I've learned over the last 12 years of being a political commentator because of a lot of my opposition that will oftentimes be incorrect on the facts, but will be very confident. And they've built a legion of sycophants that surround them that will also be confidently incorrect. That's it.
Because the nation is below the equator.
What was their problem with the Maduro clip even? Because one, Maduro did not cancel elections. And two, I mean, you can contest the results of the elections, which is the American position, is that they were, phony. It was a sham election. But also, Venezuela is not north of the equator. It's south. Not south of the equator. It's north of the equator. But it is what she was trying to say there. What she was trying to say there was a global south nation, because Venezuela is considered a global south nation, and she fucked it up. Who cares? I don't give a shit.
And
Here with us now is Ben Shapiro. Ben, she called the New York Times and said, everybody's got this story wrong, that this is about me running for president. I could give whatever about that, to be honest. The story is less about the opponents being some hypothetical primary. To me, my opponents are the network that links Orban, Trump, Milei, Bolsonaro, all these folks. In my experience, Ben, it takes a lot of effort and learning and preparation to not make news on things you don't want to make news about. That didn't happen here.
Well, I mean, it's not our fault for noticing that she was horrible. My favorite conceit here is that she goes abroad, she says a bunch of incredibly stupid things, and that's leaving aside her general message, which was that there has to be class solidarity across countries between people who are poor and people who are rich. But put that aside. I'm sorry, but if you proceed to give an answer reminiscent of that famous clip of Miss South Carolina attempting to answer a question about the Iraq War from 15 years ago, and you're on a international stage,
It is pretty funny that they brought in Ben Shapiro, because as far as like the conservative talent pool goes, I would say that he's probably the only reliable orator that remains. Most of the conservative talent pool nowadays is just shit from the butt. Like, they'll just get up there and be like, yeah, she's a dumb bitch. Yeah, she fucking stupid. Unlike me, I know where Vuvuzela is. Like, most of the conservative commentary orbit now is Nick Shirley level. What was the word? So, you know, they had to bring the old guard in for a second. The last Japanese soldier stationed on the Philippines island thinking that the war is still continuing, you know?